I'll take it.
Are you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again.
And it's a bad hair day too.
So she's like, scream for me, and then it's just dead silence.
It was a good risk to take, and it was great.
Boom! I'm gonna try and give you a friend, and then I was like,
I wish you had like a granny mask.
That would be so cool, or like a ghost uniform.
And everybody was like totally freaked out.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jordan. Hello.
Hello, Mark.
My guest today has a background in the world of fashion, design, branding, lifestyle work, all of these areas that I've really wanted to bring into this realm. And I'm so happy that she has time in her schedule to do that. So she's really the first guest that's going to be able to talk about these things because I'm fascinated by it. I have a foot in that realm a few years ago when I was doing some of the model-based photography, but she knows everything that's kind of going on here. So please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Hannah Swan.
Hi.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. How are you?
Of course, I'm good. I'm working on a Saturday, but I'm good otherwise. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm busy on a Saturday too.
We don't stop. Creatives don't stop. We never do.
We don't. Yeah, like we were talking about pre-show, that when there's an opportunity, then we try to make the most of it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's kind of the only way to be. You can sleep when you're dead.
That's my mindset for sure. It'll run me probably pretty dry, but we'll keep going until that happens.
Yeah. So, and we're kind of half jokingly talking about this pre-show that we've never actually met, but we've known each other because we've had some conversations here and there over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years at least, maybe longer.
I think it's been longer.
Yeah. Maybe 6 or 7 years. I don't know. So,
I want to say you and I connected online. I was thinking about this. I think on either Facebook or Instagram. It was right when I was trying to dip my toes into like the whole Seattle model thing going on. And I think like you had reached out. We had talked about either doing a shoot, either I was gonna model or I was gonna style it or something. And like me being me, it's never against anybody, but it's like I always end up forgetting like all the things that I put on my plate. And I think like somehow we just like we continued the conversation. And Mark, I want to say like thank you. Like I think it's been like 5 years. Like thank you for just like still being so supportive and like reaching out to me, and like even though we never actually got together.
Well, no, it's my pleasure, and I completely understand when things, I do remember we had that. There's conversations, and I know life interferes sometimes too. I've had that, and what's interesting about this whole time of doing things virtually is that you're not the only person that I've had these kind of like conversations with prior to this, and then we finally connected virtually during a lockdown pandemic time. So.
Out of all things, yeah.
Yeah, so what matters is that we're here now. Is the way I look at it, and I've been really fascinated by how your career has grown and just blossomed. And again, I've been wanting to get somebody to come on here because I've had so many different types of artistic guests. And so when it comes to fashion and branding and design and everything that you're a part of, I'm like, oh, I wonder if Hannah's got some time. So I'm so glad that you do.
Yeah, no problem. Of
so
course.
let's start with the earlier part, and then we'll get to like the current things. Where did your love of all of these branding and fashion and design things come from? Are your parents in the industry? Is that what I remember?
Yes. Both my parents worked in the industry. My mom has she has a degree in fashion design. And then my dad was kind of one of the like founding guys for Ex Officio, which is like outdoor retail, like travel clothing. And so he was with them for over 25 years. Until they got bought out. So it's like I grew up, basically learning the ins and outs of like going to dad's office, seeing like the whole design team when I was young, around 10 and 12 years old, I would go there and I would like help them sort through all their samples, and like I would hang out with all the designers. My mom also had like a bunch of books at home of all fashion design. So I remember flipping through those even as a really small child, and I was drawing and sketching and trying to mimic like, different clothing, different outfits. But yeah, so it's in my blood, quite literally. So.
Okay, and so is there a certain aspect of that world that you particularly love, or is it kind of like you love all of it?
Oh, no, fashion's got some nasty parts to it too. What I love about it is the fact that you can be literally anybody like that you want to be. I love that the clothes that you put on, especially when you feel good about them, it exudes this confidence that I don't think you can get from a lot of other things. Like when you look in the mirror and you have a good outfit on and you look good, like something just kind of sparks for everybody. And I love that this industry does that specifically. Of course, I love like the glamour aspect, but as I've learned, growing up and going through this, that is a very, very tiny portion of this whole industry. Like I said, there's a lot of nasty things about this industry, a lot of dirty things. But the process of it and how it happens and how like truly it's a design, like each designer is an artist that comes together and puts something to a physical form that is able to be worn by thousands, if not millions of people. Like that's incredible to me. The way that fashion can be scaled and that it's so necessary, and so expressive and so personal all at the same time, that blows my mind. That's what makes me love what I do.
Okay, so in I guess the earlier years when you're getting into this, and you mentioned that you kind of like dipped your toe into like the fashion modeling type of industry here locally. What And you also kind of mentioned, there's some good things and then not so good things about the industry. What were some of the things that back then that you liked about the industry that still is something that is positive today?
It would go back to like confidence. I was pretty introverted growing up. And I think that surprises a lot of people because I'm very outgoing now. I talk to anybody. But growing up, I very much stuck to my books and I stuck inside. And I was actually bullied a lot in school. And so when I got older, and I would say like I was 17, 18, getting to the end of high school, I'm pretty tall. I'm about 5'8", and especially being like a mixed Asian gal, I think it sparked some eyes. And I kept getting told like, "Hey, you should go into modeling." And I guess in my head at the time, it wasn't the best mindset, but I was like, "Oh, if I like could model and like become this cool person, then all these kids at school would stop making fun of me." So that was kind of like my motivator underneath. Prior to that, it's like I was always dressing into something interesting, some weird outfit. Usually got made fun of for that too. And so then I decided to like kind of put myself out there a little bit. I had a friend and he had a camera, and like I was just like, let's go hang out. Like, can you take some pictures of me? Posted them on my Instagram, and like I did the little hashtag thing, and a couple people started hitting me up and were like, "Hey, like I would love to like get you in this shoot, or can you do this bridal shoot?" And like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I would tell these people that like, "Oh yeah, like I've done this like so many times, or I've been doing this since I was like 12." Had to like, figure out how to walk in heels. I definitely like faked it till I like made it, I guess. And so then I started doing a lot of shoots. I was doing 2 or 3 times a week, which was like, that's a lot. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. And then I was going to shows, and I think through, especially like the shows and like going to shoots, I realized it was like, I liked being in front of the camera because I felt good about myself. I was there to be focused on me. And at the same time, I was like, I loved like the way it was put together. the way the whole shoot comes together, the way the designer brings in their clothes and the stylist brings in accessories and how everything's angled and like what the photographer is able to capture. And that almost like has interested me more in moving forward. But at the time it was, yeah, I think I was able to feel good about myself. I felt like had become somebody. And I think that's what fashion does for like everybody. Like when you, like I said, when you put on a good outfit and you get the right attention, you're like, feel much better about yourself than you did before.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think especially it's interesting with a lot of the guests that I've talked to, if they came from, say, an introverted type of personality early on, and there's a lot of them. And some of them were definitely bullied as well. I've talked to many guests about that. And it's interesting to see what art form they've chosen, how kind of brought them out of their shell, or in this case, how fashion, gave you confidence, or having the right outfit on, it just kind of makes you feel good about yourself, and then you can take more steps. So how did that go from like the fashion side of things, and like you're saying, you lived all how pieces came together for a shoot, all this teamwork that kind of happened to make this magic happen. How did it go from that to what you're doing now, these other pieces that you're doing?
I mean, it really hasn't gone anywhere. I guess I always have it in my back pocket. That's how I think of it. Like I did a couple shoots like the other month or so ago, but then I recently directed a shoot, and I'm right now working with a few clients. I guess this is like aside from my Amazon job, but like my side jobs, I'm working with a few clients and I'm helping them figure out how do you style like shoots for your products. And I'm always doing something. It's never like gone away. I would say if you're speaking in terms of Amazon and what I'm doing for them, I mean, I'm putting together outfits for customers which I'm learning, is still so personable, even though they're paying for what seems like a pretty cheap service. It's like they still very much care about like, what someone is sending to them. They really want it to be thought of and have that empathy when you're pulling pieces together that's going to go specifically for that person. And every time I do that, I'm always thinking, how are they going to feel when they put this on? So it's a full circle.
Okay, and I'm just curious, when you're talking about styling folks and picking out outfits, is that something you just have a natural ability to, or did you study that, or a little bit of both?
So I want to say, I guess, a little bit of both. I have not gone to school for fashion. I think a lot of people thought I did. I did not. I'm still in school, like we talked about off camera. I think with my parents, they totally drilled into my head, build a wardrobe, don't fill a closet. So a lot of times when I was growing up, I would be, all the girls were wearing like yoga pants, like crop tops and Uggs with like shorts, which looks so terrible. But like at the time that was cool. And of course I wanted to participate in that because me being kind of like this outcast and this outsider, I was like, I want to be one of the cool girls. And so a part of me was like, I should be able to wear what they're wearing and like all the trendy pieces. But my parents were strictly like, no, like for one, that doesn't look good. And of course I was fighting with them about it. I was like, what do you mean? And they kept saying like, build a wardrobe, don't fill your closet. And I've learned, especially as I've gotten older, it's like you don't need every trendy piece that is coming out right now, and it's not going to work for everybody either. It's like start with the basics and kind of build from there, something that's like beautiful and elegant, things that you can mix and match really easily. And so I've taken that and I've applied it. That's like my method, I guess, when I go to styling anybody else is like, okay, what do they already have? Or if we're starting from scratch, like let's start with the basics. So I build a collection of basics, and if I add little touches here and there with accessories or a cool jacket, so that makes it a little more special and a little more unique to them.
Okay, yeah, this is such a foreign area to me as I sit here with my polo and my sweats on.
I have yoga pants on with this. I was like, I'm gonna look cute up top, but I'm comfy underneath. So
Yeah,
you're fine.
That's the beautiful. That's the beautiful of this being virtual. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on downstairs.
Yes.
I'm curious, with that kind of skill set that you have you had a chance to do any kind of styling or wardrobe work for television or film?
I've actually not. That's a great question. I would be so down to do that and just to see how, clothes translate, because I know it translates so much different when it's on like camera and it's moving. I think that'd be so cool, but no, I've not done that. I've only done like, still shot photo shoots, and then I've styled like a runway show, but nothing on film. No.
Okay, yeah, it popped into my head probably because of some of the film folks that I've met.
Yeah, if you've got connections, send them to me.
Yeah, no, I will definitely keep it in mind that if someone's looking for, especially locally, if they're looking for some help with styling, they say, well, wait a minute, I know somebody.
I got you.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. There's been many people that fortunately have been connected through these things just by through social media, and we'll talk about that with you as well.
Yes.
That they have done something in a group with me, and then offline they're connecting with each other. And one of them asked me about like 9 months ago, saying, "Mark, is it okay if I talk to so and so about this project?" Like, you don't have to ask me. It's like connect with each other. I'm happy that you're finding a common interest in a project to work on something. That's awesome. I'm not the gatekeeper by any means.
Some people get touchy. Like I've learned, like, I mean, we can kind of, this goes into like social media if you want to go into that, but I feel like social media has made us think that, everyone is available, and like some people like aren't so much that way, or some people are really protective of like their connections and like their space, but it's like the whole world is accessible. And at the same time, I think like some people are just a little nosy, or like, they don't want to like, I don't get what I'm trying to say here. I was going on something. Go to your question.
Well, I think, I mean, what I found is that some people that are, they are overly protective of, their connections or whatever they have. But at the same time, there's people that are also very, very insecure. They're in things for the wrong reason. When they offer to do something for you, they want something back in return. And I'm not one of those people.
No, me neither.
I've learned over the last probably 10 or 12 years of really trying to practice. If I choose to do something, I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I don't expect a damn thing in return. And I wasn't raised that way by any means. It was always like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, right? It's like it took me a long time to get out of that mentality. But it's really paid off in dividends when I was like, no, I'm doing this because I just want to do that for you. So, well, Mark, I can pay you back. I can do this. I can connect you to whoever. Like, you don't have to do any of that. I mean, honestly, you don't have to do it. So, it's really changed my life when I've changed my process about that kind of thing. And, but yeah, you were mentioning, wow, you were mentioning social media and branding and the digital age and digital marketing. And so, what do you think of the age that we're in right now? And then where are we headed with all of these types of things?
Ooh, that's a good question. Right now, I think there's positives and negatives to, so I guess like the social media world in general. Being someone who I'm studying it in school, like I'm studying digital marketing, you're learning about all the different kinds of platforms, how things translate for a company, for a brand, for an idea, for a person. And I love the fact that like a brand is able to grow and people are able to grow and express themselves like so freely. I think that's amazing. And I love that that's where we are. We're able to connect like we have here. Like that's so cool too. But I will say I've been someone who is like a victim to, I don't want to say a victim. I hate that word, but like I was bullied like online a lot. Like since I'm a Gen Z, I grew up like with social media starting in like middle school. I was in like 7th grade. And it was not nice to me for most of those years, like growing up. And so I saw like some nasty things, like people telling you to like, anonymous people making anonymous accounts, telling you to go kill yourself, telling you're a terrible person. Like, why do you exist? Like, like people hiding behind a screen. And so I've seen like the dark side of this as well. And I do think you know, especially in a space where we are so connected and we think, here's what I was getting at, is like, we think that everyone is like so available all the time. Like if you send someone a text, it's like we are almost ingrained to think that we should respond or that they should respond like right away. Same thing goes for like the way if someone says something mean online, it's like it's going to get to them like directly. And so I think with social, in terms of like for a brand and for a company, I think it's amazing. I think for just ourselves as humans, like I think we should at least take it upon ourselves to monitor it more, if it doesn't already move in that direction soon down the road, which I do think is possible, because I think like we're learning that, you know, I mean, people have power in what they say, and like it changes a lot of other people's opinions and voices, and it influences everyone. We all watched what is it, the Social Dilemma on Netflix. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, Mark, you have to go. Okay, you have to go watch it. It might creep you out a little bit, but it just goes into the details of, you know, some of the people that founded Pinterest or founded Facebook, or like not founded Facebook because Mark Zuckerberg would not be a part of that, but like those people that were in the forefront of what these apps do. It's like, yes, they were created to do so much good, and I do believe that they do that, but at the same time there's so much damage happening that like it's going to get too far. Being someone who, I run people's social media, it's like one of my jobs. I have learned, you know, so many ins and outs, and like I'd like to think that I'm very much like an expert when it comes to like helping people get it all set up and jumpstart and start move forward, and I love doing that. But for myself, I actually took down my old Instagram about 2 years ago, and I had a much bigger account at the time, and I was more into that whole influencer lifestyle. I had a lot of influencer like friends. Definitely like posed myself as someone who like that I really wasn't. But it was because I was so influenced by everyone else that was doing it. And I was like, that's what I wanted to do. But I realized, you know, it was so much upkeep, and I was involved with so many like engagement groups, and I paid for so many things. I have so much credit card debt now, and I've learned, I was like, that, you know what, that wasn't worth it really. And so I took that down. I'm not on Snapchat, I'm not on TikTok, I'm not on Twitter. Like I took down a lot of my social media because I learned, I was like, you know, it turns me personally into somebody that like I don't love, and that isn't 100% like myself. So now with the account that I do have, and like I still have Facebook for my family because I have a lot of family that lives further away, but Instagram, and then I like started like a blog. Is more just to really showcase like my authentic self, but it took a lot of discipline in order to just get to this point, and I don't want to, you know, expand myself further and then lose myself all over again. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people, as we continue to move forward in this digital age, are going to have to learn how to do, because I think we're going to start running into the fact it's like, oh, you're not the same person online as you are in person. And I've realized like I was doing so much to try to keep up with the person that I was online that like it was hurting like who I was in reality. And I think a lot of us are going to end up having kind of like an identity crisis. I feel like I was lucky to have mine a little bit early, but that's kind of where I see it going.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that makes a lot of sense, because even from a small side for me as a media person, and I've talked with other guests about this, there's many times, especially like back in April and May of last year when everything was going on in society and everything else, that if I was not doing the media work, I would not be on social media at all at that time, because it's like, I don't want it. I feel pressure like I need to, because, well, there's a guest coming up and there's this other thing coming up. And you and I know this, and I think anyone else that who's been on social media knows that we present ourselves any which way we want. And most people are not going to share the warts and the ugly parts and the day-to-day parts, because that's not interesting. That's not the fun stuff. It doesn't look good. So let's just put up all the nice stuff, and then you don't see all the other stuff over here that's going on. And it becomes like almost like you're playing a role in a film. Like here's the social media version of Hannah, and here's the real life Hannah, and it's like they're the same, but they're not.
Right.
And I find the same thing for myself, that people that have watched enough of these interviews and heard me talk, forever, they kind of understand, okay, I know some things about Mark because he's divulged certain things, but they still don't know me because they haven't been around me on a day-to-day basis and see me, get up and have a bad morning or, whatever else is going on. Because I don't put that stuff on my social media. I choose not to. So I think you're right that it's going to be interesting for people that are, if they're just beginning to be teenagers now during this time, when you have and like you said that for you when you were in 7th grade that you got into the social media, when I had to think about that because I'm so old. I remember back in my day when we didn't have social media and all that kind of stuff, but it's crazy to think about because I used to work as a teacher, and some of the students that got sent to my program got into it over MySpace. So this is a long time ago when MySpace was a big thing. They got into it, talking trash to each other. Something happened at school in person. They got kicked out. They came to my program. And I would be reading this, and I couldn't relate to it at all because I'm like, so you called somebody a name on their MySpace page. They didn't like it. You had words back and forth. Then you got in the next day in the morning, and then you got into a fight or something. Like, yeah, and I showed her. I'm kind of like, holy crap.
We still do that now. People do that even now. It's crazy. Like kids these days I have 2 younger siblings, and they're total Gen Zs, which is so funny, and they're completely consumed in their social media. Like my little brother I think he'll be 16 this year, and I mean that dude lives and breathes like technology. Like there's never a point where he's not like by his computer or his Xbox or his phone, like, or all 3 are on all at the same time.
Wow.
I know, like, and it's just like I think about it since like I didn't get an iPhone, I think, until I was like a junior in high school, and like for a lot of people, they're like, Hannah, that's like so long. Like why didn't you get it early? I was like, God, like I didn't think I needed one, but that's like where we've moved to. And so like there's so much more like I said, like accessibility, like these kids like can say whatever they want, like, and there's no one to monitor it.
Yeah, it must be scary to be a parent these days and having kids.
Imagine.
Yeah, having access to, like you just said, immediate everything from the palm of their hand with their phone. They've got basically a mini computer in their hand, and they can talk to people. They can be looking at stuff. They can be downloading stuff. They can be doing everything that if you don't have some sort of things in place as a parent, you don't know what the heck they're looking at.
No, and it totally influences them because they're so much younger and you're so much more impressionable then. Like I do agree. Like I think a lot of kids are, are more mature in some ways, but I think like when it comes to being influenced by like what the world has to say and what Google's going to pull up and how the fact that like so much of these things are now like direct like their ads and posts and stuff directed to you at a specific time because you've already clicked on all these other things. Like it's so creepy. And yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with the generation that's beneath me, which is not that, but they're almost adults.
Yeah. The next, I don't know, even from like 3 to 5 years from now, even because of this time that we're going through with the pandemic, with all the virtual learning that students had to do. So let's say that you're like a 6-year-old and you're staring at a computer screen 5 days a week instead of being in a classroom. What's that going to do to you?
Yeah. No social interaction. Like where do you learn to like share and like have a conversation with like another human being and look them in the eyes and have a handshake? Like none of that's happening right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Hopefully hopefully it turns out to be okay way, but I don't really know because that's a strange thing to put onto someone that young who's still developing and then expect them to be able to function in society.
I know.
But to kind of get closer to wrapping this up, because I know you've had a long day, what kind of tips would you give the average person that's trying to figure out how to find their style?
Oh, I would, like just your own closet style. I would start, well, pay attention to what you like. Like start off with that. Like start off with basic like colors. Or what we do at Amazon is we have like already pre-made archetypes. So someone who is like very casual. So I think casual, I think of like colored t-shirt, pair of blue jeans, pair of sneakers. Like it's like, okay, do you like that? From there, I kind of looking to see like, yeah, what are the different styles? Because there's there's so many. And I would start off with that and then you could also look through like celebrities, like style icons that are out right now. We have this mini computer like so close to us. I think I'm still figuring out my own style, Mark, actually. Like I look at a lot of my outfits and I'm like, okay, I'm very bohemian today, very like kind of 70s vibe. I wore bell-bottom jeans last night and like a flowy top. And it was just like, I sent a picture to my mom and she was like, oh, I wore that like straight out of the 70s. But it's like, I felt like that was like my style for the day. Other times I'm very like sporty. And I think you can pull it from all different things. Like, don't feel as though you have to fit into a box because fashion is not a box. Fashion is whatever you really want it to be. I would start with like the basics of like just looking at what colors do you like? Do they complement you? Like, do they look good on you? And then figuring out like, okay, what kind of styles do you like? And then from there, figuring out what fits. I mean, and then I would think you would want to find somebody who like knows how to show you how things fit because depending on like your height and your weight and your curvature of your body, your eye color, hair color, like all certain things are going to give off a certain vibe to everyone else, and what you put on your body is always going to be the first impression. I don't care what anybody else has to say about it, but like what you wear is going to say the most about you within like anybody's first 3 seconds of meeting you. And everyone's going to take a judgment of that. So it's like, how are you going to put your best foot forward? And like, what does that look like? It's always evolving. Like I said, don't feel the need to, oh, like I need to figure out like what my style is. It's like, well, look in your closet. Like, what do you already have? Do you actually like what you have in there or do you not? If you don't, okay, let's try something new, And then like keep evolving with that. Like I have all different kinds of things in my closet. I don't really think I fit like an archetype, and that's okay. As long as it's you, then it's good.
Okay, I think that's really great advice for people. And I started flashing back to some of the models that I had worked with a long time ago who would be so excited because they would bring in outfits that, Mark, look, the tag's still on. I finally have an opportunity to wear this.
Yes. That's how I am. So I have so many things in my closet. I actually was thinking about that with quarantine. I have so many things in my closet that like still have tags on them. I've not worn them for at least over a year. I should like sell them. But I totally understand that.
Oh man. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for taking the time. And it's so nice to finally connect with you after, 5 years or whatever it's been.
We'll figure out a lunch. Well, I'm always down to get lunch or dinner. So if you're here in Seattle, Mark, we could totally plan something out and we could actually meet in person.
That would be amazing. And yeah, I'm still here local, so we'll figure something out offline, especially as we're moving into spring now and summer and everything else.
Yes.
It's a great time to be outside and eating outdoors or drinking outdoors or both.
I agree. And yeah, we're not bundled up like right by a heater, like 3 coats on. I wore like 2 pairs of pants to dinner like the other night because it was outside. I was like, can't.
All right. Well,
Yes.
we'll figure that out. But again, thank you for taking the time. I hope that you continue to be successful in what you do and stay safe over there. And
Thank you.
maybe we'll find a way to connect before this year's done.
Sounds, well, that'll be a goal. I love it. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was fun. I want to do this again.
Awesome. Well, I might take you up on that because I've done part 3s and part 4s with people. So
perfect.
Awesome. Well, have a good night over there, Saturday night, and hopefully I'll talk to you sooner than later.
Thank you, Mark. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.